A day in the life of Mizitsune. Evening, relaxation. Nighttime, goblin mode. Sleepy time. Why is it morning? Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, Capcom is hosting a very important event right now at this very moment. It will last for the next month, so you don't necessarily need to rush like hell to get it taken care of, but what it is will be an everlasting representation of our opinions as a community. What this is, to put it simply, is the ability to vote for your favorite monster. In celebration of the 20th anniversary of Monster Hunter as a series, this poll is being sent out worldwide to get the most official possible ranking of the most beloved monsters in the series. Of course, we all have our own opinions, our own favorite monster, but sharing those is quite important for, well, the number of reasons here. First, just get your vote in. This is literally a once in 2 decades opportunity right here, so tell them what you think and make sure you mention it to any Monster Hunter friends that you have that may not be as well aware of this as you are, so that they can get their vote in too, because this is a lot more important than it may seem on the surface. First, you get a free cool wallpaper just for voting, and that's pretty neat. Second, the top 3 monsters will get a custom illustration that, in theory, will be very, very cool because it'll be representing the 20th anniversary. So if you really do love your favorite monster, you probably wouldn't mind having one more piece of cool art exist for them. Past that though, there is another deeper consideration here. This will be a poll with possibly even millions of votes by the end of the time period of people directly telling Capcom what monsters they like the most ever. This isn't the first popularity poll that has been done. There have even been ones relatively recently, but theoretically this will be the biggest one, the one with the longest voting period and the greatest potential reach of the entire community to really get as many people as possible. And so as far as I'm concerned, this will almost undoubtedly have very large implications in terms of which monsters are brought back to return in future Monster Hunter games. No, returning monsters aren't always chosen based on their popularity. Often it's how they fit into the environments of the game and the maps, the story as well, more importantly. But of course, they consider this as a factor. They consider how people feel about monsters. Usually there are general ways of working out the monsters that the community favors, but there is no more direct way ever that they could ask for than this, especially with the amount of attention it can get. And so to me, the results here have a very lasting importance, not only because they will likely be drawn more towards bringing back monsters at the top of the popularity list, but also possibly the opposite. I mean, it makes sense to me that the developers all have their own favorite monsters, their own concepts that they love, that maybe the execution didn't quite work for. Maybe they look at this ranking, see Gypsaros where he is, probably near the bottom, and think, wait, maybe we can make Gypsaros way better now, bring him back exclusively for that reason, he returns to the games, and suddenly he's awesome?
Oh no, he's hot!
I'm just saying, what you vote for, what you don't vote for, all of it is information that could help shape the outer edges of the Monster Hunter roster for upcoming Monster Hunter games for years to come, if not the next decade or so. So I really cannot overstate the importance of making your voice heard on this one. That said, there are a number of other reasons this is interesting as well. First, it gives us a full list of what Capcom considers to be large monsters as of right now, currently correct. And you have a pretty comprehensive collection, including things like even King Shakalaka and also Vespoid Queen. But you also have some notable omissions as well, specifically crossover monsters, like the ones in World, by which I am referring to Behemoth, who you will not find on this list, as well as Leshen, who you won't find here either. Part of me wonders if this is less due to a classification thing and more of a licensing issue, like maybe it would cause them some sort of issues if somehow Behemoth reached top 3 and the official illustration had a Final Fantasy creature in it. Like, obviously, aside from that being a ridiculous outcome for the 20th anniversary Monster Hunter popularity poll, I wonder if it would get them in any actual trouble in some way. But either way, it's worth noting that distinction in this list of votable monsters and the fact that those have been left out. Aside from that, if you need help navigating this while voting for any reason, you can filter the list at the top and straight up search for names. Otherwise, it is sorted by the generation that a monster was added to the main series, which makes it actually quite easy to look through if you just want to have a look yourself, which is something you may well want to consider, because the other most interesting thing about this is it provided us with a number of new updated renders for monsters. Some nice pictures of how they look, some of them completely new, some of them just actually much higher quality of the same images that we have had in the past. Like, I mean, look at Lao Shen Lung here. Look at his detail. He looks gorgeous. And then we come to quite possibly my favorite part of this whole thing, which is that we sort of have to change the name that we use for a monster that I doubt we're going to see anytime soon again. You know, Fatalis? What about his red cousin, Crimson Fatalis? Well, what about their severely geriatric albino grandfather? Well, as it turns out, if you have a look at him in this monster vote selection, he is officially called Old Fatalis, not White Fatalis. The community has generally called him White Fatalis for over a decade. This is just the known translation that we have worked with and the name that we've all accepted. Then when he was in Generations Ultimate, he was called Old Fatalis in that game. But people just sort of ignored that for the most part and stuck with White Fatalis, but yet here he is again called Old Fatalis in something that's just about as official as you could possibly ever get, which tells me that Capcom seems to be actively pushing away from White Fatalis' name and more towards Old Fatalis. So hey, maybe it's time we actually start changing what we call him too, if they care about it so much. That's about it really as far as what the event itself is then, and what we can learn from it. But I think it's really cool. Earlier I was talking about how they'll probably use this list to help decide returning monsters, but I don't think it'll be quite the top ones. I think they'll just use it for just information, because, well, the ones at the top are the ones that appear pretty frequently in most Monster Hunter games anyways, and especially are ones that have now already returned in the 5th generation. I firmly believe that, and, well, I think a good way to explain that is to talk about what my projections are for the winners. The illustration that we're getting at the end will be the 3 most popular monsters, so let's cut it there. The order I've got between the 3 is a bit tougher, but I am confident in the 3 that I've chosen. In number 1, I put Gore Magala. He's the linchpin of the tightest story Monster Hunter has ever done. Don't misunderstand me, I enjoy World and Iceborne's story a bit more, but Nergigante wasn't anywhere close to as central within the story itself. You feel me? On top of that, he is extremely edgy, which appeals to a lot of people. His face is sort of cute with his tiny little mouth and his lack of eyes and his squishy little face, which appeals to other people. He is unique as hell, literally being categorized as question marks, which appeals to a lot more people because of the mystery, and his moveset and fight are just really special and enjoyable too. So that combined with just knowledge of monster popularity, I think he'll probably be at the top if people have a full month to vote. In second place, my guess is Zinogre, the big dog himself. This friendly fellow has always been one of the most popular monsters since his introduction, the first dog-like creature we'd ever really had. Big and fluffy, his theme music is absolutely stellar, his fight is unique and fun, and he has some really cool ecology to him too. All these things have always added up to make him extremely popular, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. In third place, I'm actually going to make a bit of a jump here. Normally, if I was just going for, being accurate, I would say Nargacuga. I think that would be the safe bet, but I'm actually going to go with Kezu for my prediction. I can't put my finger on it, but Kezu is generally one of the more popular monsters, and with the specific knowledge that this vote will result in an illustration with all 3 winners, I can absolutely see people leaning a bit more towards Kezu than they normally would, just because, well, imagine an illustration with Gore Magala being all epic, Zinogre looking like a badass charging up with electricity, and then just Kezu fucking spaghetti necking around through both of them with his silly little smile. It would be like almost ruining the illustration for the other 2 monsters, but also making the image as a whole absolutely hilarious and sort of represent what Monster Hunter is, because there's a lot of cool things. There's a lot of incredibly amazing, awesome, epic looking things, but there's also the silly stuff, and the silly stuff intertwines in a beautiful way, just like Kezu's fucking spaghetti neck. Aside from that, I do imagine most people will just vote for their actual favorite monster, which in my opinion is probably the right move. After all, it really could have an effect on the future of the series. That's it then, everyone. I think it's quite fun for them to do a poll of this size, and seeing the opinions of the community never really fails to surprise or amuse. The new renders are a nice touch as well that nobody is against. I mean, again, look at Lao! And now we know that there's no problem looking at elderly monsters in the game and just yelling old at them, because apparently that's a fine way to name things, so there's that too. I hope you've all enjoyed this discussion then. Get out there and make your own vote count. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.